You're right. Oh,
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Oh.
Can you, Daryl? Can you do landscape? Can you turn it landscape?
Sure, I can.
Just so it feel. There we go.
There we go. There he is.
You know, my laptop, of course, would have done this so much better than my phone.
I don't
It's
know.
all right.
That's a nice tree.
It's saying F off though, so there you have it.
This is it's a very diverse group of backgrounds we've got here, and I'm enjoying this.
I stole everything I could from my daughter's bedroom. Super. I'm 14-year-old fabulous right now. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Is that a trash? Is it a trash bag behind you? What is that?
It's a gold lame.
I thought, are you in like a grow room or something? Like what's
I think he's gonna do something to some bodies later on. Yeah, it's
that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
you're gonna come
in Seattle.
It's gonna be swinging an axe, talking about the merits of Phil Collins.
All right. Well, okay. Let me rein everybody in. All right, everybody, chill for a second. Just 1 second. So just a sort of a disclaimer. Not really a disclaimer. Just like a sort of for later use if you need it. If things go off the rails, don't feel bad from this moment on. No, don't worry about it. There's no rules about how this is supposed to go. In fact, the more crazy it gets, the better it will be. So, but I just wanted to say thank you guys for all being here, and that this is fucking great. As a fan that thought that I might be lucky enough to talk to one of you, and there's the whole band. So this is a pretty special occasion for me. But my very first question is going to have to be, when is the last time that all four of you were in a room together?
No fucking idea.
94. 94. Yeah.
94.
So 30 years ago
Yeah.
was the last time you were all in a room. And technically you're all in a room together now. It's
Zoom room.
You're in a Zoom. You're in a Zoom together.
Yeah.
So that's so essentially, like, I have a lot of questions, but they're kind of general. So like I'm leaving it open. Whoever feels like talking about whatever, and if I get to a point, because I don't honestly, like, I know so little about the band, because you guys, it's not like you guys were fucking huge and I read all these stories and interviews about you guys, and so I know everything. If I hit on something, I don't know if there's like sour notes in places. So if I hit on them and you're just like, fuck off, old head, just say it. Just tell me to fuck off and I'll move on. Yeah, like that. That's fine. That's fine. So, but because like the big thing was doing the research for the video I did, this sort of retrospective kind of thing. It was interesting to me just how little there was to read or to take in that actually gave like information, because that's my whole thing. Like, I really like the insight into what was going on with a band, but when a band doesn't blow up huge, people aren't going to write these huge things about them, and so I guess it's been left up to me. So here we are. So have all four of you watched the video that I did?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I watched about 5 minutes of it.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Because the one thing I wanted to ask was, because if you guys have watched it, what was there anything that I glaringly got wrong that you remember from the video?
No, I
No?
don't think so.
think so.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, you had a pretty. I was pretty impressed that you got it that well. But I guess Matt, who runs that fan page,
Yeah.
he's got a lot of that information on there, which is great. And you even said you took a lot of that information from his site, and he has. I know he's talked to you, Tim, and he's talked to me. So he's been piecing it together, and so he got it pretty accurate. I didn't feel. I mean, you even had some takes that were pretty spot on for someone who didn't know what was going on the inside. So it was good. But did anyone else feel he?
Well, I felt that overall, for someone to look back at 30 years into in the rearview mirror and try and sort of retell a story about, a band from a small town that
Right.
sold 20 thousand records. It was pretty good.
Yeah, interesting bit of investigative journalism, considering that our size, relative obscurity, and then you the stuff that you tried to capture, like pre-signing and some of that stuff was just between us, I guess, and maybe some friends. So the fact that you even got that information was pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, some of it's inferring just from my own experiences of being in a band and knowing about a lot of other bands and stuff. But yeah, so and it's interesting to think about that because prior to several years ago, and I talked about this in the video, where I literally saw the music video for No Groovy one time on Headbangers Ball, and I clearly remember the following Monday. I was in high school at the time. The following Monday, I was annoying the fuck out of everybody the entire day because I was going around going, "Now Groovy," the whole fucking day.
That's awesome.
And of course, flash forward to the following weekend, I make my weekly trip to the record store, and there's a little area we go to where there was like a Tower Records and a couple of like smaller mom and pop shops. No stick anywhere. So that was the end of the story. It was like,
you've summarized our story right there. Distribution, for one of the largest labels in the country, and we weren't anywhere to be found in terms of, let's buy the actual disc.
Yeah, I mean, and that was
stick anywhere. That's the review.
Yeah. I mean, that was in Austin, Texas. It's not like it was a small town, and
right.
I didn't find it. So, but the point I made about that was that because it was, pre-internet or easy to like just remember shit, I just never thought about it again. And so it brings us. It's so interesting to come back and then find a new love and interest and discover a second album and discover like all the other stuff that I showed off in of my collection, and then finally get the four OGs together. And so I guess probably the first real question is kind of a geeky one, really. It's kind of a songwritery kind of question. And so obviously there was Kill Whitey, vocalist leaves. I'm assuming she left to go do something else. And you guys regroup and kind of go, all right, well, what are we going to do? And you start the band Stick. And Mark, you move from guitar to vocals. So when you started writing the music that would be the Stick music, who was the primary songwriter? And Mark, were you writing, or what was the style? Like, how did you guys come up with the songs when you were starting Stick? Uh-oh, what happened?
Oh,
you were silent for a second when you.
I'll just jump in and just.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, go ahead. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
We always wrote. We all lived together.
Okay.
So we lived together in the same house, and our practice space was in the basement, and we practiced every day. Right. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. That was what we did. We just jammed every day, and it was these three guys as Stick who would come up with the music, and then I just put lyrics to it. In Kill Whitey, it was us four, and Kim would put the lyrics to it.
Okay.
And I think I wrote a couple songs in Kill Whitey. They're the ones that stand out like a sore thumb or whatever. But by the time I think Stick got together, it was obvious who was going to come up with the sound, and it was Tim, Daryl, and Mike.
Okay. And so you really just sort of stepped into like, look, I'm just the vocalist now, and
I can't play and sing. I strum, my mouth stops moving. I open my mouth, my hands don't work. I've never been able to do it, and so it was easier for everybody. And
Interesting.
I think we all have the opposite problem where like we can't actually play and do vocals. At least I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I mean, we did a few Kill Whitey songs, right? Or at least one. Fuel we jumped in with, right? Which was one that I had written the lyrics for anyway, so that was easy. And then there were a couple others. But I don't know if they made it on the record or not. But yeah, I mean the three dudes here were just churning out a lot of really heavy, cool shit, and it just the momentum was already there. I just switched into the role, and then we were done.
Yeah, and that
we didn't really approach songwriting the way like Webster's dictionary would define songwriting. I feel like I feel like as Mark said, we all lived in the same house. We had a practice space, a jam room available to us all the time. It was a college town. We never had complaining neighbors or anything like that. So you could just go downstairs whenever. And I feel like we just kind of went down there and someone had one riff. And we would just pound that riff until it went
into
somewhere.
The ground.
Into the ground. I mean, really, it's probably like, if you look back, it was pretty inefficient. We were pretty inefficient songwriters. We came up with stuff. We ended up coming up with some stuff pretty fast once the Stick thing happened. I think we got re-energized a little bit.
Yeah, that inefficiency, though, I think lent itself to the tightness and overall feel that translated live. It was hard to deny that we actually had gone through this stuff a million effing times, one way or another, be it in the studio or live before we played it. And I mean, I feel like that showed.
Yeah. No,
for what it's worth.
The one full show that I've seen online, which funny enough was in Houston where I live. But that was the one thing that, the tightness between the three of you. It was fucking insane. But those are that is probably why yours is a band that I was initially interested in. And once I realized, that I had lost track of you guys, I came back to it because those are the bands. I don't know, like Helmet's a really good example. The bands that didn't, if you like me, because I was this weird kid who saw on one side everyone would call me a metalhead, on the other side everyone would tell me you can't be a metalhead because you're into all this other weird alternative music that's not metal, and so I didn't really fit in. And so the bands that kind of were in that middle area where it was really heavy, but not necessarily quote unquote metal in the traditional sense, those were the ones that spoke to me. And then on top of that, if they had a locked in rhythm, as Busta Rhymes would say, the head nod shit that makes you break your neck. That's like the shit that I was really into, because it's what I wanted to play. Once I picked up a guitar, I was trying to write and I still am. I mean, Mark's heard my music. I'm still trying to write Helmet riffs, and I'm 46 years old. It's never going to end. So, but yeah, so it is true. Like that's the thing, is that you guys seem so locked in, and it makes sense now knowing the fact that not only were you guys in a band together prior to that, but also living together and just playing together whenever you want. Fuck, that's like the dream right there for like a band.
Totally.
So,
well, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, I don't think it can be stressed enough that Kill Whitey put us through the paces.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it was, I know I'm going to fuck this up. Where did the Beatles go in Germany? What was it?
Hamburg.
Hamburg. Okay. So Kill Whitey was our Hamburg. You know, we were young and going for it. And we were, like Mike said, we were in this small town, and if you just put your foot on the gas a little bit, you could really get going. You know, I mean, to be in a band is just to tell your friends I'm in a band, but then like to get, you know, we had a lot of lucky breaks.
Mm-hmm.
We opened, like, what was our Danzig opened for?
Yeah,
Danzig?
one of our first shows was opening for Danzig.
So that's huge, right?
Nice.
And then
Faith No More.
who?
You like it?
You play with Faith No More as well?
Faith No More. And Soundgarden.
Yeah, I mean, we lucked out. We really
Yeah.
lucked out. It was unbelievable.
And because we could play punk shows or metal shows, we drew a crowd. It was like, okay, you know, we got on the bill.
Yeah.
And you knew the promoters because the promoters just lived down the street or in the next block or whatever. You know what I mean? It was like a very close knit scene. So so you just got to know people, and that's what it took. And then you show up on time and you play the show. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay,
we're all
guys,
punctual.
come back. You know?
Yeah. I
think what Mark, there's a lot to be said about what Mark said there, is that one of the things I noticed about when I came to Lawrence was, you know, there was a lot of bands and stuff, but it was like, is anyone really rising up out of Lawrence at all? And that's not a dig at anyone. It just felt like if you could draw a small crowd at whatever the local bar it was where your scene kind of was, you know, there was a lot of, you know, kind of earthy kind of bands and that music there, and kind of typical kind of college town stuff. And it was like, well, that was just enough. You know, it's like Mark said, yeah, I'm in a band, and you could kind of brag to your friends about being in a band. Like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I like Mark's analogy about, you know what, if you just put in the work and you actually like took it seriously and you put your foot on the gas a little bit and you actually had intelligent conversations with the people who were booking the shows, and then you realize, okay, Mark and I worked at a record store. That sort of opened both of our eyes to that side of the industry. It was like, oh, we know the representatives that come in to drop off the promos. Hey, here's the tape. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like we were just being like, I don't know, over the top about it, but it was like, hey, check this out. Here's our thing. You know what I mean? But it's like kind of taking it seriously, and it worked. But
yeah,
to Mark's point as well, it isn't like Stick started. It was like early '92, right? It was like spring of '92-ish, something like that. There was a lot of years before
it was
that of doing all that.
Yeah. I was just thinking back on
years
that.
before that.
I mean,
all those years of doing the same thing as a 5-piece with Kim singing led us to that discipline that we continued, and then mashed that gas pedal down even harder. And it was like, here we are. We're all in. We're going to fucking make this happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when you mentioned Virgin and God, Tim, can you remember everyone who came out to see us? Like you and I, we had a file cabinet. It was a 4 or 5 drawer file cabinet, and we kept all the contacts. And I think, you know, we were like, okay, well, we need a demo. If we're gonna, the clubs are asking for demos. They want a shot. You know, they want a headshot. I mean, it's like stupid Hollywood or acting or whatever. So you got to have. And then we contacted a manager, just someone who could field phone calls. We had an accountant. Well, we had Linda was our lawyer, and we got a lawyer. I mean, it was like, I think what we give her, like $500 what do they call it, escrow, and she just did some stuff, and she was into it. And R.I.P. Her name was Linda Mensch. She was she was a kick-ass human being. And then, of course, here we are in this town where it needed to change. It was wanting to change. It wanted to have something happen. And Kim was unmistakably captivating. Okay, so she actually did most of the heavy lifting in the beginning because people they flocked to see her. They were riveted by her. And I don't know if you've seen any footage from she was just wild.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just wild. I have no idea how she did all that without breaking her neck or her legs or whatever. Right. It was just like, it was incredible. So we all just did everything we could to keep it going behind what she was doing. And Tim just was like, no embarrassment, Tim, but we called him Rocksteady because he never made a mistake. It was always there. Every part, every change, every song, all the attention. So it was, we just hung on these elements and we just pushed it forward. And I mean, I've apologized to Kim. She lives nearby. We hang out sometimes. I know, Tim, you have a relationship with her. I don't know what the two of you, when the last time you've spoken with her or whatever, but we've like hugged and cried and apologized and, I was wrong. No, I was wrong. No, I was wrong. That kind of thing. And so it's all cool. But when you're in your 20s and your ego's not tamped down or whatever, you clash a lot. And that's what was happening. And it was just like, if I remember correctly, it was like, well, and then we got passed up a lot, right? I mean, how many people came out to see us?
A lot.
Was it all?
Can't remember.
It was
all of them.
It was Capitol, Virgin, right?
Yeah.
Sony came out. CBS also came out. These are like sending out, what do you call them? A&R?
A&R, yeah.
Scouts, you know what I mean? And of course, our name was Kill Whitey, and Kim is just beautiful.
We had
like an amazing thing.
So many strikes against us, all from the start.
What happened?
Oh, I was just saying, so many strikes against us from the start.
Right, and you're right. It was probably the name. It got us all this attention, and then it would eventually get us past. And there was no way we were going to live up to the pressure of that name. The name of the band, I think, it just was too hard. We knew we were trying to do something, but we didn't know what. You know what I mean? There wasn't the language around like it is today. It was not the anti-racist movement. You know what I mean? When we literally were trying to we literally named our band that because the KKK was planned to march in our town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was so
had far fewer buckets of work from genre speaking to define ourselves at that time.
Yeah. I mean, I could. That's the interesting thing about that name is that it catches your attention, but then as soon as somebody needs to market it.
It's impossible. At this point in time, it's hate speech.
Yes, it is. You get strikes against you if you mention it on. But I also would like to say that I feel like the industry did not know what to do with Kim. Right? I mean, she was way ahead.
Ahead. Ahead.
Huh?
I'm just ahead of her time because there's so many others who have kind of followed that path, and just people weren't ready for that.
No.
At the same time, in the rearview mirror, it's like I look back at that time, and I think at that time you heard a lot of bands talking about retaining the rights to their artistic creativity and all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
I think Kill Whitey. If a record label would have been interested enough to pair us with the right kind of producer, and when I say producer, I don't mean someone that's going to make the thing slick and polished and full of horns. I'm talking about an idea person that just has good, solid musical ideas and creative ideas about how to channel the songs into. Because you go back and you listen to some of the songs, man, they're 6 and 7 minutes long. It was okay, we needed an editor. Right, just an editor, and maybe someone who was hey, don't go ABC. You know what I mean? Just someone who had some musical ideas. That's all. But at that time, the scene wasn't really about that. It was it's me, it's mine, it's ours. Get away. We got this. You know.
That's a very interesting point, because I always feel, and I think it's because of my age, because of the kind of stuff that I got into, because I was in that middle ground of becoming a teenager in the early 90s. I appreciated the stuff that was still happening post 80s and then the newer stuff from the 90s. So I still listened to that big arena rock kind of album and went, that's fucking cool. But then I would hear like some album produced in a garage and I'd go, that's also cool. Why can't it be both? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I totally get that. So that's it's so interesting. See, these are the kind of things that I love. This is why I become kind of obsessed with bands like Stick, because not only do you hit some sort of thing in me where it's music that I just enjoy, but it's also like from around this time period where, like, you know, this was the first album was 93. I started my first band in 1995 in Austin, Texas, there's two things that were wrong with both of those things I just said. 1995, the big thing where everyone was hiring or signing whoever, that was starting to go way downhill. And I lived in Austin, Texas, where everybody had a fucking band. So it was like, as soon as I got into the game, there was a brick wall that went right up in front of me. And that was pretty much the rest of my, you know, band career. But so I like to hear like about the communities that may have been smaller and may have had a really good scene going on, but also were at a time where even if a band was only going to get one shot, one album, they were going to get that little bit of a push that would lead some dork like me to see their music video on Headbangers Ball. And so it's an interesting time. That kind of leads me to my next question, because once you guys have gotten past the whole, you're now Stick, you've gone through the whole, you know, having labels come see you, and then eventually you're on a label. Kind of another kind of open question that all four of you can just go wherever you want with this question. 30 years down the line, what are your thoughts and feelings about the major label experience that you had at the time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I'll jump in. The hardest part to answer that question is it was the only option we had.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, it's weird to say that the only record label that would offer us a deal is owned by Clive Davis, one of the most famous industry icons in the entire industry history. So on one hand, you're like, well, this seems too good to be true. And on the other hand, you're like, this isn't going to work.
Hell yes.
At all. You know what I mean?
I mean, is that going to work? But you're like, hell yes. I mean, like, what else are you going to do? Because nothing else is on the table. It's like,
yeah, sure. Would we have loved to have been on? There's a billion different record labels that would have made more sense to us, but we weren't getting offers from them. And it was like, well, you know, you're like, you're going to grab the ring or what? You know, how many more times is it going to come by? You know?
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know. I think all of us were ready enough to roll the dice.
Yeah.
But I'll let you guys.
No, I agree. Rolling the dice is a good metaphor.
At the time we had I don't remember his name, but the A&R guy that signed us was great.
An A name comes Andy.
No. The guy who signed us and then quit. Like,
no.
After they signed us, that guy.
It went to Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was his name, Mark?
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate your confidence in me.
I know who we got handed off to, but no, he was like, I remember he wasn't like an long-term Arista guy. He had but I seem to remember like his pedigree was like bands like White Lion and all this other kind of metal stuff that, you know, clearly for us was not our headspace.
Yeah.
Right. You know, but we were small town guys, so we don't realize that the industry is really big and does have in a lot of ways the capacity to handle, like, yeah, we get that you're not White Lion or you're not who. That's the only name that can come to mind. It's like,
Right.
but we're bigger than you. You little they're like, shh, kids, you're gonna be okay. Come on into the offices and see the gold records for 80 million Whitney Houston sales at the time.
Whitney
We know what we're doing. You don't know shit.
Yeah.
You don't know shit about what you're doing. So,
But he would have.
uh,
I feel like he would have done a much better job than Swearingen, right?
Richard Swearingen.
Richard Swearingen,
Yeah.
ABBA. I mean,
No, Ace of Base.
Our guy.
Ace of Base.
No,
Ace
no,
of Base.
Oh my God.
Ace of Base. Ace of Base.
Oh my God! There's a memory is conjured. Wow.
Yeah, that's who we got handed off to.
Yeah.
And he could give
Wow.
But he could give a fuck about us.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
he literally actively didn't. I mean, he actively was like when he was around us, it was just like, ew, this
Ew,
get
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a
He came
stain on my
along-
sleeve.
Right.
But to go back to
Came
the first
Lawrence,
point,
Kansas,
I think what
he stayed.
Yeah,
with
what
us.
Mark
He didn't
was-
stay with us. But we went out to dinner and stuff, and you could just tell he was checked out. It was like I'm gonna entertain the natives here or whatever, or I'm gonna like the townies, and then he just to make this story straight. Another reason we signed to Arista is one, we'd been passed by everybody.
Okay.
And so did we already have the music tracks recorded for the demo, the stick demo, and I just went in and recorded vocals? I feel like it was that easy. Like I just went in and they just put a new vocal track on it. And the crazy thing is we were signed 6 months later, right? Like it was like that.
Yeah. Your vocal track was the first AI, right?
yeah.
And I've been doing it ever since. So but like the guy, so our lawyer who lived in Chicago, Linda,
And she had a pedigree as well. She represented. She was Al Jorgensen's handled his affairs for many years. Who coincidentally was also on Arista to begin with, and also
we
Cheap
all know
Trick.
how that went.
But she did handle Cheap Trick's affairs for many years. So she had a pedigree, and she came up from a family. I believe her father was an industry veteran as well, and she wasn't like, she was a smart, experienced individual in the industry. So we felt solid. She gave us solid advice, I think, always.
Yes.
She was dependable, accurate, and intelligent.
Right.
And then we coupled that with, she was like, well, maybe this isn't the most ideal scenario, but the guy who was going to be our A&R guy had at least some pedigree in hard rock, and it was like, well, Arista wants to commit to try and do something in this arena. And they obviously knew they were getting us on the cheap, right? So it's like, they were just like, roll the dice. And why not? I mean, at the end of the day, we all know it's just a write-off anyway. So, but despite the fact that from our perspective, it kind of felt like, shit, we better grab this. There's really not a lot else out there being thrown our way. But at the same time, it was like, this may or may not be great, but we went for it.
Yeah, and I mean,
And then the rest.
Anybody else have anything they want to add?
The rest.
And I find that it was
To today.
Pardon me?
Nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got to let some light in the room.
Okay.
All right.
So the thing was like, we were I feel, we were at that time period, Kill Whitey at least was like one of the first bands to have A&R people fly in, correct? I mean, am I wrong in saying that? I don't mean to be claiming.
In Lawrence?
In Lawrence.
Yeah.
In Lawrence.
Oh, it's for sure.
Yeah. So then one flies out, and then it's like sharks. Then the other one has to come, and then they all have to check it out. And remember, there was a thing brewing with grunge, right? And all that stuff was happening, and Nirvana was
Goddamn,
coming.
we're old.
What happened?
I said, goddamn, we're old.
So what basically there was other bands that were coming up in Lawrence that were doing the same thing. There was a thing that was happening, and one of them was Paw. And I don't know if you've heard of Paw before, but they like got together. They played some shows. They did really good. They got really good. They got a following. A&M came to town. Wham! They just got signed like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay. So Arista came looking for sloppy seconds, and we accommodated.
Yeah, which it's funny because I think if I remember right, I think MTV played Paw's video 3 times.
Yeah, that's what played our twice. I know because we got a 69-cent check.
Yeah.
Wait, I never saw any of that.
Oh shit! I know, right? I'm like, where's my fucking
You guys
change?
just send him his send him his cut now,
change?
guys.
God damn it, Smurl.
So, but the thing was that I do think Linda knew. God, I wish I could remember his name. He was an older gentleman. He came out. Of course, everybody was older when you're 25 or 22 or whatever. He came out and he signed. He wanted to sign us immediately. He didn't even want to fly home. They were like writing stuff.
Yeah,
literally
they were
on
ready to
Barnett.
sign right there. Yeah.
Yeah. He signed a promissory, everything. Linda flew in for the gig because she knew he was coming. And she said, hey, you know what? This is not ideal, but he's the head of A&R at Arista. So if he's the head of A&R, he's going to whip everybody else into shape, which we didn't know what that meant. But basically, as soon as we got handed to Richard Swearitt, we realized what that meant because Richard Swearitt didn't do anything. And then we went through how many other A&R people did we get? Lawn Friend?
Lawn Friend. Yeah.
Which,
the
well,
hell,
you know
man?
what? Now that I remember that, there is, because I'm a total dork, I have a bunch of old Headbangers Ball episodes. And he used to do a segment called Friend at Large.
Yeah.
And he talks about the Stick album in one of those segments.
Right. And he
Does
does
he?
not talk about it in his book. Not
Oh
at all.
shit. Well, it's probably because everyone would be like, who the fuck was Stick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't sign us.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't sign
Yeah,
it.
that's the thing in there. You don't in the music industry, you don't want to inherit someone else's band.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like when you sign a band, it's your baby, right? And no one else, as long as you keep incubating that thing, but nobody wants to take it from you
Yeah.
because it could be a rotten egg. It's like no one's willing to take that chance.
Yeah.
I feel
It's
like
so
though
hard.
at that point in 1993, there were a lot of people who were just casting out this wide net
Oh,
and hoping that
sure.
one out of the dozen bands they grabbed would work out. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the deal was that, and you mentioned that weird marketing thing. You were talking about we weren't supposed to be marketed really heavily, and you are right. There was a talk a lot about being over marketed and over commercialized and stuff. And look, this is very emotional for me, you know what I mean? Because I was the most emotional person. I was the most ungrounded person. And so the whole thing is like, it feels like it's my fault or whatever. But so I'm just going to go ahead and say that we were riding this line between really wanting this to be our job, you know what I mean? And we really wanted to keep, because there was Henry Rollins, there was the Rollins band, there were people who were touring on their own merits that they could just go and go and go and go and go. And I don't think I realized exactly what toll that took on the human body to do that kind of stuff, but it is absolutely excruciating, or it was for me. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay, so your whole day is for 20 minutes, van, gigs, load in, sound check, then you're on stage and then you're off stage, and it was too discombobulating for my head. I couldn't figure it out. But so,
Yeah. No, I completely understand. And it's like there's the physical aspects, and there's also, the mental health aspects of it all as well, because you spend all your time in preparation and, touring and, getting ready for performance that is ultimately 20 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour of your day. It can get kind of, there's really no adjective for it.
So that actually leads me. I'm trying to sort of move on because I don't want to keep you guys here forever. If I start taking too long, somebody let me know.
I just
but-
it's good to see all your faces. So thanks.
All right. So, but that brings me to a good point. Like when in terms of my question about the major label experience, once you're out there and you're getting put on whatever tour it is that you're on, what is the feeling? Do you feel supported? Do you feel some sort of momentum? Do you feel kind of thrown out on your own and you're kind of lost about what's going on? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I just felt the whole time it was like you're going on tour, and I was like, with who?
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is where the part of the well, your A&R guy is very connected in the world of hard rock, and it was like, our first tour was Overkill, and I mean, those guys turned out to be cool as shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
if I'm looking at a denim and leather, old school denim and leather metal act, like early thrash, I was kind of like, oh, there's no way that audience is going to have us. There's just no way. This is going to be brutal.
And in many cases, they did not.
Yeah.
No, there actually was surprising. The audiences were. Yeah, that's a tough
Except
crowd, and they were like
Cincinnati.
You start seeing some heads.
Was like
Cincinnati.
No way.
Well, also their thinking may have been because around 93, that's when Overkill put out their like groove metal album. So that might have been the thought process there, but I guarantee you they still had to go out and play half of their set old school thrash metal at least. So
that audience has expectations. You know what I mean?
Right.
And those guys, they were cool as hell. I mean,
rad.
They
were rad.
Band people are always different than what you think when you're looking at your home and you're looking at them on their CD and stuff. They're either totally lame or they're just mellow, cool as shit dudes. And the Overkill guys were super cool. I have great memories of hanging around with them and their team and everything, despite the fact that I felt like there was a lot of real estate between what they were doing and what we were doing.
Mm.
But yet we could go out there and those audiences would look at us like, I mean, you know the deal. Like I'm sure you've been to, you strike me as a guy who's been to some denim and leather shows. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
and that crowd is not exactly. I would say they know what they want because they're there for that thing. And we would come out and play, and the first thing they'd look at us and be like, what is this? Like dorks. And where they're like, where are they from? And then the music would come, and we were tight, and it was heavy, and it was tuned down, and it had that a certain element of what they want, right? Which is that just fist pounding, head bobbing thing, which we had. We drove that into the ground, I think, and that was kind of our thing. But we survived for like a month with those guys, and they were cool as shit.
Yes.
I mean, I still Merritt Gant was one of the guitar players at that time, and a guy named Rob Canavino played guitar in the band. And I stayed in touch just coincidentally through my work with Merritt for years. He's a great guy. Love those dudes.
Yeah, they did. They kind of took us under their wing, and I feel like they were. Had they also, some of the crowds were rough. I'm not gonna lie, but I think because they were so nice to us, it was like, okay, that's okay. Every time we showed up, the majority of the time we were just hanging out with them. Then the doors open and here come the crowd. Then the songs are over and then they all leave and then we're back with them again. And then we meet them in the next town and they were all very cool. And in fact, their roadie liked us so much. His name was Shane Gellert. He quit their band to come on the road with us, and we had no money to pay him. And he was
shit.
He was just one guy. Yeah. He left this whole crew, and it was that's
unbelievable. Yeah,
Mike says that's the kind of camaraderie we ended up having because they were really rad dudes.
Yeah. That's great. And so, and the weirdest one, which I was correct and right, you guys opened for Kiss at some point.
Twice.
Twice.
That was a festival.
Okay.
Twice? Oh yeah, it was like a festival type thing in Chicago. I think it was just once.
Yeah,
was
it's
the
a
second
Blaze
one?
Fest.
We opened.
Yeah,
Blaze
Blaze
Fest in
Fest.
Chicago.
Okay.
Yes, but we also opened for them at the Concrete Metal Forum Foundation in Los Angeles.
Oh well, yeah. Technically, I forgot they were there
What?
too.
They were the headline.
I thought
So-
that was the
Crap.
Scorpion.
Pardon me?
I thought that was the Scorpion.
No, Scorpions was that show at Sandstone.
You guys were
Yeah,
Which
but
we
I
didn't
thought
end up
I
playing.
completely forgot about.
Didn't end up playing.
So okay,
But
so
we went on tour with
Unbeknownst to
so,
us,
so
they'd
the-
already printed the posters, the tickets, and the T-shirts, and I think that was really the last. That was really the last line with the label. They were like, "Okay, they're not going to play in their own hometown with the Scorpions," and that was on me again. So sorry.
So okay, so that's a good question. So just to get a little behind the music here, so you were wanting to like you were experiencing issues that were keeping you from being 100% and wanting to do shit. Is that what I'm getting?
Okay, so as a 56-year-old person, it's not like you're a total dipshit, dude. Like I would tell my 20 whatever, I would be like, fuck you. You know what I mean? I would really be hard on me or whatever, because the whole deal was I would have opened for I panicked. I panicked. I fucking panicked. I was not in a good headspace, and they wanted us to open up for the Scorpions in Kansas City, which was our hometown, and for some reason I heard everybody going me, you know, like you open for the Scorpions, and it's almost better if
I'm not gonna lie, I think I heard it as well, and I mean I think we all did,
Okay.
and it wasn't necessarily the echo that we wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I mean,
it may have been a great example. I'm going to say this though. It may have been a great example of worrying too much about what other people fucking think.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
But you know,
That's what the
Yeah.
57-year-old me says.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that I feel like we're all kind of idiots in our 20s. But not only that, like a lot of us, like myself included, had emotional issues that we were too immature to understand. so, you know, that's just how it goes. That's what happened with me, you know, so I totally get that. But so that leads us a little bit to quickly jump. This is going to be a very big sort of question setup, and I want everyone to take it wherever you want to take it. Because the part of my episode that I did where I go, here's where I have no idea what happened with this band. That is leaving or being dropped from Arista. That whole time period, whatever led to that, leading up to, was there already writing for the next album before you left, Tim, or like how, like basically the process of that one album to the next album, all of a sudden not on a label, Tim's not in the band, like that is this big old gray area where I go, I have no fucking clue what happened. So if anybody, and like I said, if there's any sourness there, then just tell me to fuck off or don't talk about it. But I just, you know, as a fan, I'm just interested to know that period of time. Daryl's had enough.
I'll be right back.
he likes to be outside.
It's like that. It's that part in the behind
How
the
did you
music where
know?
they're like, I'm not gonna fucking talk about it. They take their mics off and they walk
Right.
away.
It was like squirrel. He had to take off running after him.
I think Squirrel might have gotten it right.
Okay, so the Scorpions, I don't know if you guys disagree, but I feel that Scorpions time period was the exact hit. It was like because this all goes back to, you know, what Mike was talking about. We were on the road, all great people, right? We were on the road with Overkill. We were on the road with
Raging
Type
Slab.
Negative. Huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
Raging Slab.
Raging
Raging
Slab.
Slab.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you've ever heard Raging Slab, dude. Are you
Yeah.
into them at all?
isn't Raging Slab? Isn't the guy that produces Metallica now? Wasn't he in Raging Slab? Wasn't that? Yeah, I think he was the guy that does all their shit now. Well, I think he was a guitar player in Raging Slab.
Okay.
I
they're
think.
awesome.
Really?
I think.
Are you talking about Bob Rock?
No.
No.
His name escapes me
Anyway.
right now. Maybe it's not Raging Slab, but it's like that style of band that was happening around the time. It's one of those. Anyway, go ahead.
So this all ties into the major label experience. This all ties into where you fall onto a label, which label you fall onto, and in which place in history you fall in, and which part of your own inner world is correct. There's a lot of things that need to be firing in order to make it just, and then luck.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of luck involved. And so we had been on, I feel like we were trying really hard to get on the road with someone a little more alternative. Remember that word? Okay. So, but we're on a major label. So they want radio play. They want a video. They want all the stuff that a major label wants. Okay. That's totally great. But they couldn't get us on a bill because they didn't have anybody else. That's the deal. If so-and-so from this label and so-and-so from this label, they're just looking to sell tickets and make money. So they want to put the success band with the success band, and they just want to go. They want to go for it. Well, Arista didn't have anybody. Their entire venture into rock music was signing 3 groups. What was it? Muzzachunka, something and Shuffle.
Yeah.
Haze and Shuffle.
Haze and Shuffle. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't even remember Haze and Shuffle.
And so, the reason you don't know Haze and Shuffle is because they were from Canada, and there was a guy who was a junkie in the band and had a record, and they wouldn't let him in the States. So that band disappeared off of Arista's label like that.
And as the total nerd that I am, I'm gonna look up both those bands after this.
They were great. Muzzachunka, remember them?
Muzzachunka was actually awesome.
Muzzachunka is great.
And all that shit. Fuck, go for them, man. Go for them. Yeah.
The funny thing is, and I think I may have said this to you, Mark, when we talked on the phone one time. Mm-hmm. Arista Records, up to that point, the only thing I owned by Arista Records was a Muppet Show album from the 70s.
We weren't going out with Dr. Teeth or whatever. They were not touring.
Yeah.
So we couldn't go. Yeah, which is a shame. Basically it was like, and then the A&R people kept flipping, right? I have to say, and I think you guys will agree, the underlings at Arista were fucking ready for a rock band to be. They wanted to, you know what I mean? They didn't want to be pushing Barry Manilow and Whitney Houston and Ace of Base and all this. They that's how you make your money. But they really want, like, what was that? Brad Murphy.
Well, no, the two breaking acts at the time we existed at Arista, the 2 breaking acts were Crash Test Dummies and Sarah McLachlan.
Sarah McLachlan, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Those were the 2 breaking acts, and Ace of Base.
And so they really needed to branch out, and they were trying so desperately. And there were some folks there at the label who were passionate about, breaking out. They saw it, as an opportunity, but they just really couldn't bring it to fruition through, the vehicle that existed at the time, because they were so, used to, or at least acclimated to, a certain, type of artist. And we
radio.
Definitely
radio.
Yeah. Radio.
Clive Davis broke every single band on radio. That was his deal. He was a radio guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if he could get
Arista was a hit making machine. That's what it was. I mean, you look at the legacy. If you should watch the documentary on Clive Davis if you haven't seen it. It's pretty fascinating to realize that guy was there with Dylan and all the way back. But Arista became a pretty big hit making. So they had the infrastructure to create entities. You know what I mean? We just were not. We weren't that lump of clay that they were going to turn into. Yeah. I know who it is. Their rock band. Enough's Enough. That was their rock band.
Oh.
Sorry. Didn't mean to derail.
No,
it's because I just heard that song. I just heard that song. Little Steven's Underground Garage. He loves to play that Michelle song or whatever. And every time I hear it, I'm
Michelle.
like, oh, Fly High Michelle. I'm like, oh, Cheap Trick. Anyway.
I'm going to not gonna lie, I'm a fan of that band.
Enough's enough.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
they were cool.
absolutely.
They were cool. But yeah, so Arista had this hit making machine,
Yeah.
but we just didn't really still, no matter what, we didn't really fit into that. But continue, Mark.
No, that's it. So I guess and I mean, tensions within yourself, tensions within your family, tensions within your community, tensions within your city, tensions within your state, tensions within your country goes to war, these things. And so I think there was just too many things that were happening inside each of us and inside the industry. Of course, Nirvana, when they broke, all of that stuff died. Like they cut right through all that fat, that was going on. And then it was, everybody wanted that. And if we just were not going to have it at Arista. And it was our third A&R guy, Lon Friend, who's sweet. He was very sweet. He got us some good pornography because he had been Hustlers porn critic for years.
It's good.
Here's some good porn.
It's because he ran. It's because of the metal mag that he ran that was published by Hustler.
RIP
magazine. Yeah.
So we got in RIP a couple times and all that, and he came out and he was very nice. But we got shifted to West Coast. He was going to be the West Coast division of Arista. And like I said, we're not even in his book. So he spent no time thinking of us, which is fine. I had a better relationship with him afterwards because he would come to Chicago and look me up and we would just go to dinner and talk and stuff. That was really great. Yeah. And then I feel like, didn't they just call and say like, hey, you guys.
Well, we're fast. I mean, we're fast. Yeah, but we're kind of fast forwarded. This is now we're into the, like, I think.
Was that what you're saying? You wanted the drop period.
The demos with Eric and stuff.
Yeah, like because there's the timeline of at some point Tim's not in the band, and at some point you guys get dropped. It's like, how does that all play out?
I can't. What happened, Tim? Was it dropped first, or did we get in an argument first? I can't remember.
Oh shit! This is good.
Yeah. One of those things happened before the other.
But they were in fast succession. I'm going to tell you that right now, and it just makes me hot to think about it. So I don't know really. I think I've probably pushed a lot of it out, but yeah.
So hold on. So was the tension between Mark and Tim?
Okay. I'm going to have to step in here.
It was with Mark. It was with Mark. So that was what it was. I mean, it's fine.
I have a very distinct memory, though, of having a conversation with Mark about, like, just of what's going on or whatever, and then of needing to talk to Tim, but Mark not being able to. And I remember actually walking over to Tim's place to have this conversation. But I remember that I'm like, wait a minute, shouldn't Mark be having this conversation? You guys have known each other for years beyond.
Yeah. Like Tim and I go way back to high school.
Yeah.
I mean, we're Topeka kids, you know what I mean? And it just
things got weird.
I mean, we're way past that now. I think once you've gotten at least into your 40s or later, things seem a little more silly than they did when you were in your 20s.
Well,
oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So Tim Moan, you don't understand. Tim Moan, Big Tim, Big Tim. You know what I mean? Like he was a kind of like a local hero in town. So it was like that. We ended up together, and we roomed for. Tim, like, when did I move back to Lawrence? You were already there. You'd been there for a year or two, right?
Yeah, I mean, I graduated in '86 and moved straight to Lawrence. So
yeah.
And you came a couple of years after that, or a year after that?
A year, yeah. Because I tried community college for a year and it didn't work. And so then I
has community college ever worked for anybody?
I think somebody
didn't. For me,
still open. And so so that was it. So I think Tim and I got it. Would you say the fight was in Boston?
There was possibly, yeah. The matches. Is that what you're talking about?
Is that the club?
No, that was
Oh,
you. That was you lighting matches and throwing them at me.
okay. So you could get into this at all. Like I was really
Please.
bummed, and he dumped a beer over my head one time at a show. You know what I mean? Because
Wow.
to get my and boy, here's the deal: Tim and I did not smoke cigarettes,
Oh.
and Mike and Daryl smoked cigarettes, and so
That was the
Tim and I
problem.
got the non-smoking room, and Daryl and Mike got the smoking room, and the smoking room was the party room, and so all the fun stuff was happening there. And since I was incapable of getting out of my own head, I was not able to engage in that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't, whatever it was, the aesthetics
Yeah.
that you think that you're trying for, that you're failing at because
Yeah.
it's not worth doing. So that was basically what was happening. And I think I was really bumming Tim out, to be quite honest. And I think I just got on his nerves to the point where he just, like any human being would do, Tim snapped. And then we got into a fight. And I think it was a Mazzy Star was playing upstairs and we were playing downstairs in the basement. It was a
Yeah,
two-tiered.
Oh yeah, the Middle East.
the Middle East.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That whole situation was stressful. Getting there, we got stuck in a tremendous traffic jam. It was Boston. I mean, it was just a mess trying to get there to begin with. But yeah, carry on.
Well, that was it. So, Tim, I don't even remember how it happened, to be quite honest. I honestly don't really remember how Kim didn't, it wasn't in the band anymore. I don't really remember like someone saying, "You're out." I don't remember. I'm sure it happened or it wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? But I don't really know what, I don't know.
Anybody else want to chime in on what exactly happened?
Uh, I don't remember the actual event or what transpired to make it actually happen.
Mhm.
Um, I do know that there was some tension there between what I felt to be tension between Mark and Kim that
Mhm.
would manifest on stage, and
Oh, and Kill White.
eventually, yeah, as Kilwhitey, that we
See,
got to a point where it's like we have to make a choice here. It's like who's actually leading the band, well, who's in control here in terms of you know the front person,
Mhm.
and you know I think that's and we kind of let them duke it out. I don't know that we actually stepped in so much, and we probably should have in retrospect.
well, and this is, and this is not blaming you, Daryl, because yes, the tension was, look, Kim will tell you was a much different person then than she is now. She'll say that, right? And
Mhm.
if you talk, I mean, it doesn't matter. Her and I were the same person, okay? And we were like, right? So it was like, we loved one another, and we would feed off of one another, and we would push one another. But when it came down to it, um, it just didn't work.
Mhm.
Whatever, it didn't work. It was, and so if I remember correctly, Daryl, you were so pissed at us being dicks to each other or whatever that you were like, "I'm quitting," and so it was like, "Oh shit, Daryl quit," and because
No, no, I don't think
that's
I
how
ever
I
got to
remember.
that point until like later on, until like the stick years. But that I could be wrong.
Well,
I
Yeah,
don't
because
remember.
Daryl,
Daryl plays on the next album. So how did that? How
oh,
did that?
no, well, this is Kill Whitey. So
Right,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
If I
okay.
remember
I get
correctly,
what
right,
you're
right.
doing. I
Daryl
get what
got
you're doing.
fed up with Kim and I's behavior, my and Kim's behavior, and then he quit. And then we were like, well, what are we going to do? And if I remember correctly, since we all lived together, except for Kim, she actually always maintained smartly her own residence. Daryl was like, I think we should try it again. We were just all in the same house. What were we going to do? All of our equipment's in the basement. We're used to practicing, you know what I mean? So we
Got
just
it.
kind of went down there. I had fronted a band before, and so I knew how to do it and what to, I had the, I don't know, wherewithal. And so I just jumped in, and our first gig was, what was that first show, dude? Remember at the Bottleneck? It went over really well. Like the crowd could have fucking hated us, right? They could have hated us for
What was that first show? That
disappearing
stick.
Kim from the stage because she was really what people were there for. But for some
Oh,
reason,
there were some people, in Lawrence who were definitely not happy about the change up. But yeah, I can't.
I feel like
think
we
of
just
that
did an
without,
open mic night. We just signed up for open mic
Yeah.
night at the Bottleneck and just
Yeah, like
showed
it was
up and
Mountain
played.
Clyde. I think it was Mountain Clyde. We played with Mountain Clyde. And
So
Yeah.
wait, so did you play shows as Kill Whitey without her, or did you already change the name?
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we
In
were
fact, we
guilt,
played shows
guilt trip,
as-
right?
Guilt Trip, which has been taken by another band.
It's been taken
yeah.
by about 50 other bands.
Yeah, right.
Who knew? So yeah, okay. So now we go through the whole stick thing, and we
Mhm.
get down to the end where now the fight is between Mark and who? It's between Mark and Tim. So here we go. And then there
Okay.
was just some weird shit that went on, and the label was kind of shitting on us, and the touring was not. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Tim, sorry, I've apologized to you backwards and forwards, and you've accepted it a couple times, so thank you very much. But Tim left, and he got in Grither. And if you haven't heard Grither, go for that. And that was Mike Allmeyer, and they were a former band in Kansas City called the Pedal Jets, who were known. They were a gatekeeper and they were not a gatekeeper. They were a pioneer. They're in rock music in Kansas City. They also had some inner tensions, and then it was like, Tim was like suck into that band, and then we were like, whoop, we stole the drummer from, was it Roach Factory? Was that the name? Right, he was in Roach Factory.
Yeah.
And then we just went like that. And so the second record was, yes, you asked if the material was already written.
Oh, like all of it already written.
No,
it wasn't.
Okay.
We had written a bunch of songs and done live to 2-track demos of a bunch of songs, with the four of us.
Yeah.
That were tunes that we were kind of written in between tours and whatnot, which were some pretty heavy songs. But then, and it's a shame that they just kind of
Those were the best songs we had written.
Yeah. They exist, and we were playing them live too. And they just sort of exist in the realm now of non-existence.
And Tim was the drummer on those songs. The live
it was the four of us. Yeah. We were playing those tunes, but then when we parted ways, we decided to just start with all new material.
Okay.
Well, the label was also recommending because the head of radio had quit. What was her name? She was so cool. Jenna, that very beautiful woman who was head of radio. She quit, and because we had another single, and you have that grind, right? You had that CD.
Hold on.
Bam!
There it is.
That was our second.
Oh, by the way, I also bought this thing.
Oh
wow,
man!
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, it was only $10 on eBay. I had to get it.
Great. So then we put out this thing called
Thanks
Live.
for the purchase.
You will see none of that money.
Zero.
No, I saw all of it. I'm the one that sold it to you.
Oh, nice.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Not to interrupt you, but when it comes to that new material, the question that I had is because the next album sounds really good and you're still working with E.G. Rose. So in my brain, I was like, well, were they still on the label, on the major when they started recording it, or was that post that? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then they said, we're just not hearing anything single worthy. And it was like, so they said, you can have the tapes. And it was EJ.
EJ.
James.
What did I say?
You said EG, I think. I think.
Oh,
you said
okay.
EG, but it's okay. I'm not.
No,
EG is way better though. That's
Egg Rose, and
Egg Rose.
Now we haven't even talked about the fact that we recorded Heavy Bag with EG. See, now
it's my fault. It's my fault. I'm sorry.
And then because Arista they wanted a name, right? That was the hit making machine. They took us to Smart Studios in Madison. But was that Butch Vig's place?
Yep.
Sounds like
Butch Vig was unavailable, so we got his right-hand man, Doug Olson.
Mr. Colson.
Doug Olson. Oh, Mr. Colson.
Oh,
Right?
no,
Doug
no,
Olson. And
Mr. Olson.
he totally remixed the record. Like he literally changed, he took the, was it Heart, dude? The drum sounds from the Heart record. He
Right.
he triggered
because they would do drum triggers back then. They would use your analog tracks to trigger samples.
He painstakingly went in and marked everywhere a snare was and everywhere a kick was, and he put in Heart's drum production, and that really pissed EJ off. Like he was real, like that he just, and that was another thing too. It's like the label wants you to do one thing, and they really want you to do it, and so they really talk to you about it, and you're like, well, and then finally you say yes, and then the person that you said yes would have preferred that you said no, and then now whatever. So it was really tough. So that's what happened. So then it was like, okay, we're not selling enough records. We didn't get the radio play we wanted. The head of radio quit. God, what was her name?
And they weren't willing to support some dates. You know that video you mentioned that you've seen that's filmed in Houston? That was on the I, Mother Earth tour, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
And Doug Pinnick from King's X was there, and he came and talked to us after the show. And remember, they offered us a string of dates.
Yes.
And we were like, holy shit, finally someone like really cool we can go.
That would have been a great fit, too.
And Arista was like, yeah, not going to support it. We were like,
holy shit.
Oh, man. Yeah. So it was, we would have been financing it ourselves. Just paying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you're paying for a huge act. You're still only getting $150 or $200, and that's barely gas money, and certainly not a hotel or anything. And it was like we would have. And I know that sounds really like bougie to be like, oh, we would have had to pay for it ourselves. It's like there's bands that go live in their van, and I get it, but it was like, we had a crew and we had gear, and which had to be towed in a Ryder truck, and it was too big to fit in the van, and so we had elevated a little bit. We'd elevated our situation a little bit, which then became kind of an anchor in that we couldn't really just strip down to nothing and go play these dates. But again, in hindsight, we should have just probably bit the bullet. But our headspace was not there also at the time.
Well, plus I would assume if I had been signed to a major around 93, 94, there would have been this assumption that, well, I'm on a major. Why aren't you paying for it? Like, you've got all this fucking money, So
I think that's where we were as well. Right. Yeah.
You pay for it on the back end. You know what I mean?
It's just an incredibly high interest loan. Interest loan where your part of that interest is less than zero.
Yeah.
And so that's when the second record comes into play, and that's when Eric Kahn comes in, and then that was a demo session that was overseen by Lon Friend. He came to Lawrence and hung out, and then again, I'm telling you, he's a great guy, easy to hang out with, good to talk to, whatever, got a lot of cred in the rock history and stuff. And, but he just was like, he kept saying something like, I need like teddy bear rock or something. And I think he was trying to tease out of us that we needed to do something very poppy. And we had, I think because of the success of those live to 2-track thing, we were getting heavier. You know what I mean? We were getting heavier, and there just wasn't
far heavier. Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Oh,
and so it was just not gonna. It was not gonna. It just didn't happen.
Just out of from a fan perspective, do those tapes exist anywhere? The in between. Yes. Who's got them?
I'm sure, Mark, you have digital copies of everything.
Yeah,
Mark's got everything.
Mark,
I don't have everything. Matt has everything.
Here's a fun more little tidbit too. Those demos, basically the second record. The start, I don't think all of the tracks were laid down at that studio in Kansas City, were they? I think some of it was done at Red House, but
Cities
but they sent or Chapman or something.
Chapman,
Old
Chapman.
studio that,
Yeah.
and it was actually a pretty nice place. They had some nice
Yes.
gear in there, but
And then who was that?
they
producer
sent
that
they
came?
sent a guy named Michael Reed out, who was the touring guitarist in Wang Chung.
Yes.
And
Right. Holy shit.
Yeah.
How do you remember these things?
How,
like
could,
30
how
years
could you
ago.
forget that?
Yeah, right. Everybody have fun.
it's
tonight.
crazy. You know what though? It's funny when you start meeting industry people, because it was like, oh, Michael was roommates with this guy. Oh my gosh, what was his name? He was okay. He ended up in the band Jellyfish, which I'm a huge fan of. But he also was the singer for Slash's Snake Pit. His name's Eric something.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm not. It's not going to come to me. Yeah.
And because of that connection, Michael got me backstage passes, if you will, to go to the Lone Star when Slash's Snake Pit played there, to go meet his friend Eric, right? Just to go say hi to him. And that was how I met Slash. He was just like standing at the bar in the Lone Star. I was like, but there was no one there. There was their sound check, and he was just a dude. And it's funny. It kind of comes back to that thing where you're like, you meet some of these people and they do the same thing everyone else does all day. They sit and wait around
Yeah.
Yeah.
and do nothing while they're waiting to fucking play. You know what I mean? And it's like, here he is. He's just like sitting on a bar stool, like, hey man, what's going on? Hey,
The
it's
Lone
cool.
Star was a metal club in a plaza in Kansas
Yeah,
City.
kind of a metal scene club in Kansas City. But
In Westport.
it's funny how having that dude, and it's like, as life goes on, these names, and you start realizing the world's really small, and they start surfacing again in the weirdest places. But
Mhm.
we recorded there with that dude, and those sessions, I remember them being really fucking awful. I was not into it.
You were pissed.
I was.
Yeah, you were. Very
Yeah,
mad.
no, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Again, if we're going to talk about being in headspaces and stuff, I was not into what was happening at the time. And then we went out and then we finished stuff. I feel like we finished tracking it at Red House.
Mhm.
And I remember you were like, Mark, you told me, you're like, yeah, I'm going to have my friend come in. He's going to put some piano down. In my head, I was like, yeah, I don't fucking care. You know what I mean? I was just like,
Right.
I just didn't care anymore. I was just like,
You were
I don't
checked
care.
out.
Yeah, well, okay, let's go take pictures of ourselves holding, with lipstick painted on our faces and
Right.
holding
Which
candy. I was just
yeah.
like, sure. I'll do it. I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So,
But yeah, I would started checking out at that point,
Yeah. which gave me a lot of free reign to get a guy to put piano down on a song. And we even put a string sound in one of those songs. I think that.
And in retrospect, it was fine. I just had no enthusiasm for it.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
And Daryl, you didn't have much enthusiasm because as soon as we were done in the studio, you were like, "See you, dudes," and it was like, "Now Daryl's gone." That's why he's not in the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took your pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you said you'd play all the tracks, but you didn't want to be in any of the pictures and stuff.
Yeah. I was like, I'm out. I don't know. It was just hard to describe. It's how do you leave a band when you're like, part of that last effort, what's the right way to go?
Yeah.
And that you're going to release something, but at the same time quit. There was no real right answer.
Well, I mean, for three of you, obviously not Tim, but if it gives that album a different, I guess, perspective for you, I think that album's fucking amazing. I think it's just compared to like where you guys came from, because that album is great in one way and this album is great in another way. But from my perspective, the music that I was wanting to make in the mid 90s is what you guys made on Heavy Bag. The music I wanted to make in the late, did I say 80s? 90s. The music I wanted to make in the late 90s is what you guys made on the second album. So I hear those albums and I go, this is literally what I was wanting to make.
Right.
And so
Right.
it's this shit really like speaks to me. But
I think that instrumental on that album is fucking amazing.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That record changes at Yarrow and goes boom, and it gets way good. I still absolutely love the first half of that record, and I love Heavy Bag, and I love Kilwetty, and I love all that stuff. You know what I mean? But like from Yarrow, yes, do that. I mean that is like it's like your head. You can't even help it. Your head just gets open. You know what I mean? Because it comes at you. It's just so cool. So cool. I didn't want to ruin it by singing on the motherfucker because it was so good. It's so good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Daryl, dude, everything.
Thank you, Mark, for not singing on that one. Yes, I'm making a joke. Come on.
My pleasure.
All right. So that's a good segue for me to wrap it up because we've been here an hour and a half, and I appreciate everybody's time. This has been fucking amazing. Thank you all. Honestly, this question is not just for me, but it's because like even if you may not know it, there are a good number of fans of Stick. People that I didn't even know. Like once I started doing videos, before I ever did the Stick Bands You Should Know video, I would occasionally, I had another video series I did a couple years ago that was called Old Head Bangers Ball, where I would literally like play old music videos and like drink beer and react to them and sing along to them, and people fucking loved it. and I played the No Groovy video, and people that were like on my social media started coming out and being like, holy fuck, you know this band too. This band's fucking great. Have you heard their second album? All this stuff. So all of a sudden this small amount of people, they're small amount of people, but they're people that I had no fucking clue. And so when I posted the video to my socials, or when I did a little teaser where I said, by the way, I'm now in a group chat with everybody from this band, and people were like, holy shit, no way. So there are people that like love what you guys did. And in hindsight, and it doesn't help you much now, but you know, it's like one of those things. But so the question that probably everyone is going to have on their brains is, has there ever been any desire from any of you to revisit any of that music in any fashion, like ever?
I'd jump in here.
I bring it up more than anybody, but I've stopped because no one that it sounds like, yeah, that's cool. I wouldn't want to do it with me either. I don't want to be. Why would you do that?
The reality is, like I totally daydream. You know, sometimes I'll listen to the records and I daydream about like, oh man, it'd be so cool to just like get back together. And again, I have a whole different appreciation now for like record producers and idea people. I think there's so much value in that, because when you're in it, like you have to remember, you know, it's like, it's all I could do to like play the tracks. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to play them right to the best of my ability. And that's not always the smartest thing to do, right? Sometimes you need this outside influence that just is like, no, don't do that. Just cut loose. Don't think about what you're doing. Let it be sloppy or whatever. Or being like, hey, right here, modulate this whole section up a half step. Like you're so busy trying to play it right, the way you remember it from band practice, the way you got it written out on the big piece of white paper, you know, and it's like, it's good. I see so much value in producers now. And I use that term, you know, loosely. Again, it's like, I'm not looking for someone to come in and just polish stuff to death, but someone who had good ideas, solid musical ideas, where the music, it takes the music and enhances it and makes it even better than what it is without turning it into something different. It's just, you know, helping you get to where you want to be. So
well, I
oftentimes think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but
and
the reality is geographically it'd be pretty tough.
Yeah, but I'm with you. Just to jump on the producer thing for a second. I often think about that, how the idea of the producer of what they used to be is what's very missing from a lot of music these days. and mostly, well, there's in the world of the things that I kind of listen to, which is the rock and metal kind of things, and you have all these like legacy acts that have been going for a long time, and they go into a studio and they literally just always go to the same engineer and the same place where nobody's going to question what they're going to do, and they churn out the same album over and over again. And even though it might be good quality shit, it isn't what I loved back in the day, where you would hear a new album from a band and it would be different from the one you heard before. And I feel like a lot of that was not only did the bands want to grow, but producers, I think, would also step in and be like, why do you need to do this again? Or I'm going to bring my own, take on things. And so like you get these days in especially the metal world, really sort of samey stuff over and over and over again, to where even the new bands just sound like the old bands. And so that, I always say, people need to embrace the producer of like bringing in somebody and letting them at least look from a third party perspective and be like, yeah, you guys could do this and this and this with your stuff. Maybe not take every single fucking note, but I feel like it just makes for better albums. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
Plus, if we got back together, Mark would have to be the drummer now, and Tim would be the front man.
Tim, do you do
He's a
guitar
front man.
vocals?
Tim's a front man now.
Oh. Well, I mean, you guys could just be one of those bands that plays to a drum machine. I don't know.
I'm going to play I'm just going to play saxophone.
Right. So if I'm not playing drums or singing, then I'm not even in the band. So you three guys.
Oh, you know what it could be? You guys, right? Okay. You can be like that guy in the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones that just dances on the side of the stage.
The hype man. The hype man.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mark, you should be a lawyer.
Okay. Obviously, you have a law degree. That's good, Tim. Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tim, do you even play drums anymore at all? Do you have a kit?
I haven't played in years. No.
Wow. That's shocking to me, because the shit you did was so good. So, but I understand.
Thanks.
I understand moving on from shit. But yeah. When I give like the helmet comparisons, there's a John Stanier in your drumming.
Oh,
like
well,
that.
Yeah, he was an influence for sure.
Yeah, I hear that kind of shit.
Yeah. No, I took over. I started playing. I started singing in a punk band, and now I'm in a I don't know, brown liquor music band. So.
Brown liquor.
Yeah. Brown liquor.
He likes whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, as do I. I'm all out of my
shit.
whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm doing some sad dad shit.
Oh, okay.
I listened to it the other night, Tim, because of your connection when you told me about who came to visit you and stuff. And then I searched and I was like, oh, and then and then I found this performance that you guys did, and I watched it and I was like, holy shit.
What's the band called, Tim?
Thick and the Foolish.
Okay.
Cool. Real cool.
Fucking awesome.
All right. Well, so last but not Daryl, I don't know if Tim, if you had anything to add about, but obviously if you're not playing drums, you're not very interested in revisiting this music.
I am probably maybe the least interested. Yeah.
Daryl, what do you think?
I don't know. I think he's fighting.
Fighting for second at least
between
interested.
Daryl and Tim.
Yeah, I quite possibly. Yeah. I don't necessarily see a need to revisit the past, and if we did, I think it would be reinvented. We're all doing different things. It's like we all get along, and if we were to do something musically, I don't think we would try to rekindle something we've already done. I mean,
right.
I've thrown out the idea of doing some like Exquisite Corpse type of ideas where we'd like send a music file out, someone adds to it, kind of a thing. And maybe that'll take off at some point, but it won't be Stick or Kill Whitey, that's for sure.
So, well, just to touch on it, because we didn't. Are you doing anything musically, Daryl, at this point?
Yeah, actually, I'm doing some stuff. Both on my own. Electronic. I'm into electronic music, so I'm doing
Yeah.
something like my own project called Superfluous, like SPRFLS, and then I'm doing some stuff with a neighbor friend of mine. Actually, it's kind of a funny story. And we go by Repeatry, but we've got a couple of tracks up on out there.
Sweet. And Mike, do you got anything going on?
No, I played in a band called Gunfighter, which was from Kansas City for a while out here in San Diego. When sort of unbeknownst to me, Jason Blackmore, who had a band called Molly McGuire and everything back in Kansas City, moved out here, and then not all of the rest of his band came out, and so I kind of took the spot of the other guitarists for a couple of years, but that's been over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't done shit in 20 years at all. I don't even think I've been on a stage in 20 years.
Okay.
I still play guitar all the time, but
Nice.
but
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, we're all just waiting for the next Smurl album. Like, when the hell is that gonna? Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. Yeah. The art flats came for it, and I got all
Oh,
the
literally, you've already been recording it.
Yeah, I recorded it right after the other one, but then when COVID hit, everything, supply chain, whatever, the whole thing, and now records are so expensive.
Oh yeah.
I just don't have the money to really do it. But I've been researching this lathe cut system.
Don't do that.
Oh, I did.
Just
I
did.
just did.
Oh
why?
shit!
Uh-oh.
shit.
God damn it!
Can't
It-
turn back
it
now.
depends.
I'm out.
Hold on.
Oh,
It depends on who you went with, but I did a one-off of my first two EPs, my
Yes.
solo stuff,
yes.
and it is really bad. So
Well, I paid for one, so I thought that'd be my test pressing. And so
Yeah.
if it sounds like
Good-
shit, then I have to go another route. But I have
good
the
call.
covers.
Good call.
the covers.
I'm gonna say if that doesn't work out, if it sounds good, then whatever. But if it doesn't sound good, do like a Kickstarter and I'll help promote it. But
Right on.
but yeah, okay. So all right, cool. I think we've been, man, we are way over an hour and a half, and that you guys have been very generous with your time, and I really appreciate it. This is like I said, I felt I would feel lucky just to be able to talk to one of you and to have all of you here. This has been like the best interview that I've done, just because it's been the most interesting and engaging thing, just because the four of you in four different stages of your life, but you were all in this one, you had this one moment together that at this point probably seems like, like a fucking couple minutes or whatever of your life. But for people like me who are like a fan, like that music is lives with me all the time. And so I view it very differently. I'm just like, oh, these are the guys from Stick, that fucking album I love. So it's great that you guys were able to do this. And yeah, I can't thank you guys enough. Does anybody have like any parting words before we get out of here?
Well, I wanted to ask you this because you say in the video that if you saw a band on MTV, and then if you go to the record store and they don't have the record, then you probably forget about the band, right?
Yeah.
Is that what happened to you? That's,
Yes.
I think what I heard you. Okay, so how many years did it take for you to actually get the record? Just out of curiosity.
Okay, this is gonna be an estimate. So
Okay.
It came out in '93. I'm gonna say almost 20 years. And here's why. So like I told you, what?
Did you buy it in a dollar bin?
No. Here's
Oh,
I mean,
you missed an opportunity.
It wasn't there. I never found it in a dollar bin. But here's the thing. Here's what happened. So around that time, because I was such a fan of that period of music, and I watched Headbangers Ball religiously, and so I have a nostalgia for all of that music. I found some guy online that had all of these episodes, full episodes of Headbangers Ball from the 80s and the 90s, and I bought a bunch of them from this guy, and I went through this big nostalgia trip of like rewatching all these episodes. And there were several videos that I hadn't thought about in 20 years. And the No Groovy video comes on, and I went, and literally nobody's in the room with me, but I'm still like, oh my God. Because, and so the very next thing I did was I went, at that point, it was through Amazon, and I bought a CD off of somebody for probably a few dollars. It wasn't $1, but
yeah.
But I got it, and it was completely water damaged. Like all of the artwork was all wavy and shit. And so years later, I ended up getting a better copy of it. Okay. But because the years had gone by now, and I guess because CDs aren't a thing that people buy anymore, I think I paid $10 for this one when I got it. But
nice.
But anyway, so it was a matter of time where I just needed that spark to go off when I went, holy fuck, I forgot this. And there was a few bands like that where I hadn't thought about it for 20 years. So whoever that guy is, I can't remember his name, but thank him for all of this.
Right. Cool.
He got my money, so who cares?
Awesome.
Am I remembering this correctly that the first time we saw the video was we were at the Stone Pony?
Yep.
Is that right?
We were on tour with Raging Slab, and Headbangers Ball came on, and we were like, put on the TVs. We were like telling them to put it on the TV, and we watched it. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah. That was the first time we saw the one that they actually released. Remember the first version we saw? We saw it at a golfing resort in like Miami, Florida. Or
at the Aerosmith convention.
Yeah,
and we played with Sarah McLachlan and the Crash Test Dummies, and the video guy was sweet. Again, very sweet people. This is not, he's like, he's got the tape, and he's very excited, and he wants to come, and we go to his like suite, in this luxurious like golf resort place, and he puts it in and he plays it, and I think we were all like, no. And so, yeah.
What was the difference? Yeah. What was the difference in the video?
You guys remember?
No, I don't remember this at all.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so first of all, when you get a video made, they have to turn in treatments. Directors have to audition, or they try to get the job, right? So they have to turn in treatments, and then the label reads the treatments, and then they meet with the director, and then the director is picked, and then the director comes to you, and then you have to shoot what was in their treatment, right? Toby Wright. What was his last name? Tilly.
Toby
Wong.
What happened?
Toby Tilly. Yeah.
Toby Tilly. He had this whole thing. He just shot some footage of us, not live, and then he went back to LA and hired actors and built these sets, and he made this stuff, and it was not good. It was not good.
I don't remember this at all.
I don't either.
We gotta find that. I
have a copy someplace, I think. So
I think you dreamed it,
Mark. All you're doing is you're creating a scenario where I'm going to consistently bother you. Like send me the demo, send me that video.
So we said, absolutely no way. We are a live band. You need to come back out and shoot live footage. And that's when we did the Bottleneck show, and we put all those flyers around town, free video shoot, free. Yeah. And so everybody in town came to the shoot, and Toby didn't. I don't know if Toby came back out or not, but how many times did we play that song on stage?
Oh God,
424.
5 or 6. Yeah.
Right. We're just cranking through the same song over and over again, you know. And the crowd has to be excited, and all that kind of stuff. So as soon as they cut in they took out all the actors and the stage set stuff, and then they put in the live footage, and it was like, bam. And
so were they trying to do like a story video where they had actors doing some sort of storyline?
Dude, because it was No Groovy, which is, you know, who even knows what the fuck I was talking about. They had a anti-symbol. Like, you know,
Oh, like the knot,
right?
like
And
knot.
knot symbol. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a knot.
In the treatment, they were gonna build a giant one, like giant. And they were just going to roll it down the street with the camera, you know, on a track. They were going to, you know, past poverty and decay and social injustice. It was going to roll, you know. It was just
See, guys, none of this is groovy.
Oh,
that was,
oh,
Yeah, and they were like, "Where's
groovy.
the groovy?"
I remember this now. Oh, the holy shit.
my god!
Yeah.
I know, right? When it comes back, you're like, "Oh god!"
okay. So here it is. So then, and they had to construct it. So the video was there was gonna be welders in a factory with sparks
Yes,
flying.
that's
and they were
right,
gonna
that's
build
right.
this, and then the wheel was gonna break off of its moors while they were, oh no, it was gonna roll and smash through the door and smash through the wall, and it was gonna roll out into the world, and it was gonna be no groovy. Just over and over, you know, and it's going to be this whole thing.
Did they even ask what the song was about?
Of course not. Because who knew? Who knew?
Yeah.
I don't even really
Didn't
know.
matter.
But okay.
Didn't matter.
Yeah. So we
I forgot about all this shit.
oh my God. I'm sorry. It's been like an hour and a half, but this is my favorite. So we get the video back,
God.
dude. And it's a guy with no shirt on and overalls, and he's got a mallet. Okay, just a hammer, and he's got a welding mask, and he goes, and he puts a welding mask down, and he goes, playing on this no groovy wheel, which is now this big.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
Stonehenge.
It's fucking Stonehenge. It's literally
Oh my
Stonehenge.
God.
It's like this big. And so now they've got the camera really low and they're trying to roll this tire basically down the street while they're trying to film it. And I was like, why does the dude have a welding mask if he's just hitting it with a hammer? What is going on? It was so fucking over the top and stupid.
Oh my
And I was like, oh.
It's because the song was so hot. He was there
Holy shit.
couldn't have been sparks.
Wow.
So there you go.
Oh my
This may
goodness.
explain why I haven't seen the latest Toby Tilley video.
Yeah.
Wow.
You didn't keep up with him? No? Didn't keep up? He was great. He was great. He was
So
great.
I'm sorry to keep you guys longer,
let's
but
see.
in the video treatment, did it write out at some point the vocalist needs to be holding a pitchfork? Like, is that
No, that we did.
okay?
We did that.
Okay.
We're like, yeah, props.
Because Tim, didn't you know the Ice family were friends of yours, right? That owned that
What?
farm that we went out.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember.
So he came to town and we went to Walmart and we bought those
Right.
one-piece jumpers. And he was like, because Toby was awesome. He was like, there's no wardrobe budget, but I think I can get away with a little something. And so he took us to Walmart.
To Walmart.
and Gap. We went to the Gap and we went to Walmart and we bought all of our clothes. And then we picked out some locations and shot and stuff. But anyway, that's that. It was hilarious.
That's a great way to end this. That's amazing. But yes, just for the people that are watching this that have that lasted this long, you know that they're the fans. They're the fans that have been here.
All
I
three of them?
will be bothering Mark all the time to see if I can see any of this shit. But okay, let's wrap it up. This has been great. I already said it. You guys are amazing. Thank you very much for doing this. Yeah, this has been so good. I don't even know how to wrap it up. My biggest problem with doing my videos is I don't know how to end them. And I always end up just going, all right, whatever. Thanks for watching. Bye. And so
We could count to 3 and then hit the video button and then let it all go away.
Yeah, we can just on 3. We can just vanish.
We could all, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up.
Let's do that. We'll all count to 3 and then maybe we
Okay.
won't hang up, but I'll just end the video for everybody out there.
Oh,
Can
yes,
I
Tim?
say something real quick?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love Mark Smurl. I love Daryl Brannick and their music. Mike Tobin is the best guitar player I've ever heard, and I wish he would fucking record something and put it out.
Thanks,
I do.
Tim.
I honestly
Thanks,
do.
man. That's nice. That's
You know
awesome.
what? Maybe you guys need to start the Exquisite Corpse thing and start sending stuff around and see what happens. If you guys need any kind of guest screaming, I'll come on board for that.
The one fan, the one guy.
Right.
There are fans. I'm literally every time I get a good comment on this shit, I'm gonna be sending it to you in the group chat just to be like, look, there are other people. It's not just me. All right. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna count to 3, and that's gonna be the end of the video. But we'll still be here for a minute or two. But
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Bye, everyone.